My softball coach once told me that people will try to make you look bad to make themselves look good. But when this becomes the dynamic for your community, your experience at school, or whatever bubble you live in, you need to find an outlet outside that bubble. I realized this in 6th grade when my bubble started causing me problems that I couldn't escape. COVID lockdown hit the spring of my 5th grade year. We were finally able to go back in the fall of my 6th grade year, but with the caveat that we couldn't change classes. This meant that I was with the same 20 or so people all day long. Math, English, recess, PE, same bubble, non-stop. I like to think of this bubble as mandatory community. A mandatory community is a group of people who you see almost every day and you have an obligation that you can't not do. Kind of like a family. You don't really have a choice of your sister, brother, weird aunt, crazy uncle, or in my case, the community I've grown up around since I was 5. But there was one place where I did find this connection, my travel softball. I love being on the field and behind the plate. I love being a catcher, and I enjoyed spending time with my friends beyond the small bubble of the classroom. Meanwhile, back at school, I was still struggling with connection. I was struggling with being teased by people that I had gone to school with since I was 5, or in some cases longer. They knew I played softball outside the rec league and started using that against me. At times, the jokes weren't just about me. They also included my teammates. Some of my classmates knew that my teammates were other races and started to make unfunny jokes about their races. I felt powerless in this unchanging small bubble. They were attacking who I was, what I loved doing, and who I loved spending this time with. After a while, I was done. I was ready to quit softball. I told my mom all that had happened, and I told her that I was ready to quit. She fortunately said no, and then continued, "It's what makes you the happiest." Until I found softball, my mandatory community felt like something I couldn't escape, something I had no choice in. But once I had something to compare my mandatory community to, my chosen community, I realized how embraced I could feel by others. Because I didn't quit softball, I found a community that supported me, celebrated me, and pushed me to be my best self because they saw that person in me. One of my earliest coaches taught me that my teammates will always be there through tough times. One game, we were losing by a lot, like 20 runs. A bunch of the parents were wondering why we wouldn't just forfeit the game. But my coach had a plan in mind. He wanted me and my teammates to realize the value of communicating through tough times and pushing through the long, hard inning. Because we trusted him and each other, we were able to make it through the inning. And it wasn't long until I realized softball had become my support system. And I realized how many positive qualities were set in place in a community. The first thing I noticed was that my community actually wanted to be in my life. This was unlike any experience I'd ever had in my mandatory community, because I felt confident about our relationships and that they could leave at any time. I also realized that our conversations were less forced than at school. Our conversations actually flowed. And I was no longer waiting for social interactions to end. I realized how important healthy communication is in a community. My teammates are always there for each other. When we make a great play, when we make our school ball team, or even when we have something we're excited about. However, we're also there when things don't go our way. After all, softball's a sport where you can fail 2/3 of the time and still be great. From my experience and many of my friends, finding your start is different for everyone. But one starting point I found to stay consistent is that my friends and I have all found something we enjoy or something we have in common with someone. For example, you try a local play, a club, sports, or you can even just go to the dog park and talk to people about your dog. Mine's a Labrador, and my dad's favorite child, but we've just embraced it. There are so many ways to find your connection. Once you find your connection, finding people you can be yourself with is the key to unlocking a perfect community. From my experience, softball was bringing out my smile again. My community was helping me in more ways than just friendships. So if your community is not giving to you in the way you feel you need, communicating with you, or supporting you, why not go out there and find your own? After all, everyone deserves a special connection. Find the people who make you happy. Thank you.